Nutcracker podcast.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Global Nutcracker. Today with me, I have Mark Fairless, the CEO of Clearbank. Hi, Mark. How are you today?
Hello, it's great to be here. I'm very well, thank you.
Cool. How is it going for Clearbank? What is Clearbank? What exactly do you do? How you started, and so on?
Yeah, so Clearbank was a purpose-built, tech-focused bank in the UK. We were the first new clearing bank in the UK for 250 years, built in the cloud, kind of API native, and we were really set up to solve a problem of how does the UK support the fintech boom that there was and there has been, while sort of dealing with the legacy technology that the incumbent banks in the UK had. So we saw a problem there, and sort of Clearbank was set up to really resolve that. Since then, we've grown very significantly. We've moved in from agency and clearing banking into embedded banking, which is where we sort of white label our bank accounts to other organizations who want to provide banking services. And we've got a number of partners in that space, whether it be kind of Tide, Chip, Revolut, are our sort of embedded banking partners. And then really excitingly, we got our European banking license in August last year and have spent this year scaling our European business as well. So going really well. We're pleased with how things are going. Our purpose is really to sort of to drive innovation and unlock the potential of our clients by giving them the tools and the infrastructure they need to kind of enact their vision.
That's amazing. That's an amazing story. So for how long has Clearbank been on the market exactly?
Yeah, so we were set up in 2015, and then we really
Okay.
got going once we got the license and out of mobilization in 2017. So sort of 8 years we've been going, and I think what we've really seen in the last 3 or 4 years is a real acceleration of our growth. So
Yeah.
we've now got 8 embedded banking clients live on our books. 3 of those came this year, so you can see the momentum in the business, and the year-on-year growth is really strong too. We've now got sort of 270 clients in total on our books. We've been going for not that long, and the last few years has been really when it's sort of kicked into gear.
Yeah, looks like that. Tell me more about the last few years. How many markets are you covering right now, let's say, and how was that whole journey of going from one market to another one, and how many markets are you in today?
Sure. So we started out in the UK
Yeah.
as the sort of home market, and so we got into Europe with our license in August last year. We've now passported into the majority of the EU states, so we cover the majority of the EU, and we've just actually in the last couple of weeks opened up a branch in France, and we're hiring people in Paris, which is really exciting. Our sort of home in the EU is in Amsterdam, where we've got an office with our EU bank. We want to, at the sort of next phase, to go into the US. That's the logical next step,
Okay,
because then
yeah.
we'll have sterling, euros, and dollars. So we're looking at how we do that exactly and when. But for the moment, we're a sort of regional bank in the UK and in the EU.
Okay, perfect. That's amazing. So the topic for today is the nut to be cracked. What was that moment for your company? And if it's not one, you can tell me more of the challenges that you had, and then we'll speak about how you cracked those challenges.
Sure. I mean, I think in any sort of startup scale up, there's any number of them,
Of
right? So
course.
whether it would have been kind of getting the initial funding, getting the banking license in the UK, getting the banking license in the EU, winning those first customers, there's a whole number of them. But I guess the nut that we have been focused on cracking, and probably I'd say the biggest one, is how do you move from being in one market to multiple markets? And how do you do that in a way where you keep your kind of organizational culture, and at the same time, so I've been at Clearbank now for 3 years. When I started, there were sort of 400 people. Now we've got
Yeah.
800 people. How do you keep
Oh,
how do
okay.
you keep that going with that culture and with the sort of empowerment of everybody, the alignment of everybody? When you've doubled your head count, which is fantastic, and you've moved into other markets. So that's really been the nut that we've been focused on cracking.
That sounds familiar. I must say that sounds really familiar. But I love that you put the company culture as it's the most difficult, but I think it's also the most beautiful not to be cracked, because if you manage to crack that one, there is nothing you can't do with the team that you have created.
Yeah.
So how did you do it actually? How did you do it and how you're doing it? I guess it's like a daily intentional strategic thing to for a company to do.
Yeah, and I guess like any organization, it's something you constantly have to do.
Mhm.
But I guess the challenge was we kind of knew we sort of felt the culture in the UK.
Mhm.
We it was sort of intangible. Everyone could sort of describe it themselves, but we never really sat down and thought, what is it?
Okay.
How do we actually know what it is to then know how to actively scale it? So the first step was to really spend time doing that and kind of speaking to the colleagues throughout the organization, throughout the business, and saying, what does it mean to you?
Yeah.
And through that, we sort of built up our cultural pillars, and we sort of therefore could figure out exactly what it means to be in Clearbank. We talked about kind of going together, moving forward as one, building trust together. There's a number of kind of pillars that we came up with that really articulated it, and so we rolled that out. But I guess the other challenge is then, and it's a lot more practical, is how do you look at the operating model of a
Mhm.
business where,
Mhm.
particularly in banking, where
Yeah.
we had essentially one team, one leadership team that was driving the business, and then suddenly we've got the EU team and then a group team as well. So that scaling of the operating model, whilst keeping who we are and the culture of what we are, but also recognizing that the English culture or the British culture is different to the Dutch
Yeah.
culture. So how do you allow room for the Dutch kind of flavor of Clearbank? And so we really have spent, like I say, a lot of time thinking about that and building it into everything that we do. And I think likewise, the operating model, listening to people, what is it that's going to enable us to trust people, empower people, continue to move quickly, continue to keep the things that make Clearbank the great
Yeah.
place that I hope it is to work. And so that's really kind of the way we've done it.
Okay. A follow-up question on that one. Was it more difficult to actually bring the operating system that you have built across the different markets, or the company culture? Which one was more challenging?
I'd say the company culture, that
Hmm.
because that is everybody, that is
Yeah,
everything,
that is everybody,
that is how do
exactly.
people act when no one else is
Yeah.
is in the room. I mean, that's not to say that building the tech and the sort of platform isn't difficult, because it absolutely is. And um, part of the kind of the great thing about our model is it's the single tech platform. So it's the same tech platform in the UK as it is in the EU, and as and when we go to the US, it'll be the same tech
Yeah.
platform again, and that's really kind of the crown jewels of our proposition. And so that's great, but we do have to also reflect that there are kind of different product sets in the EU that we need to build. That's an ongoing job. We've got a strong kind of product pipeline ahead of us in Europe that we're working towards. But certainly the culture enables everything. So you have to get that right. And as I say, in a rapid growth business spanning multiple jurisdictions, that's the harder bit.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that's beautiful. Since you're focused on culture, I have to ask, when you hire people, how do you find the best people that will actually be the right cultural fit, but also have, because your industry is highly regulated industry, right? It's a
Yeah.
bank. And how do you find the right people that will be the perfect culture fit? Not perfect, but someone that you can work on, someone with growth attitude, with your culture's attitude, and so on,
Yeah.
and also the right experience. Is
Yeah.
it difficult, or do you have to prioritize one or the other?
It's a really great question, and again, something we think about a lot. So
Mm.
we do think of ourselves as a fintech. Yes, we are a
Yeah.
bank, but we want to keep that kind of fintech mentality. But you're absolutely right. We can't just hire everybody from a fintech background, because there's certain things that in a bank are different.
Yeah.
And so you have to find a balance. So the first bit is, where do we actually find talent? And we have to spread,
Mm.
mix that around in terms of, where are we recruiting from fintechs and technology companies? Where are we recruiting from banks? And if you were to look around, you'd see that our technology teams are heavily from the sort of fintech space, whereas our support teams, which are more kind of focused on the regulatory environment, are more from banks. And then it's really, how do you bring people in from banks and not rebuild where we've come from? So I mean, I've worked at large banks, Barclays, Santander. I was at M&G. So you can't preclude people from those organizations. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. But you have to spend time going, are they going to kind of adapt to a very different environment, or are they going to rebuild the environment they've sort of come from? And so we have actually introduced a kind of cultural interview, a cultural focus
Okay.
on the process, where somebody will more towards the sort of more senior end of interviewing, though, spend time and go, is this person a cultural fit? That's the only thing that I am assessing. Is this person a cultural fit? Because that is so critical to make sure that we kind of maintain who we are. But you're absolutely right. We do have to bring in people with banking experience as
Yeah.
well as with fintech experience.
Yeah.
And it's a
That's
constant
amazing.
challenge to ourselves of, are we moving too far in one direction or too far in the other? We've got to strike that balance.
And how do you measure success? What is the key metric that, let's say, you will know, especially about, as we put culture here on the first place, which I totally agree with you. But how do you measure how successful you are in that?
That's a really great question. So we do focus a lot on employee feedback.
Yeah.
So we do monthly employee opinion surveys, and we pay a lot of attention to that. So I'm often told off by my management team for spending too long looking at the comments in the survey and looking at kind of what is it saying, how are people feeling, how are the scores moving, and drilling down on it all. I think that's really important because you've got to identify
Yeah.
where is it working, where isn't it working quickly, and kind of course correct, which is why we do them so regularly as well. So I know, I've come from organizations where you do them kind of maybe quarterly or half yearly, but then you're kind of, it's a lagging indicator. So we stay on top of it. We do them really regularly, and we make sure that out of each one we're sort of focusing on what is it that our teams and our colleagues are saying.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I have a last question for you, which will be very fast. As a company who scaled up pretty fast, I would say, really,
Yeah.
congratulations on that one. What is the most important thing they would say to other people like you, other CEOs, other entrepreneurs, that it's a must if you want to scale globally?
Oh, wow. I think it all comes down to, and it's sort of saying a little bit again of what I said. It's about having the right people around you, and it's having the right culture.
Mm,
You've got to have people who trust each other. You can trust, they trust each other. That culture's got to be there. You've got to have people with kind of growth mindset, accept that things don't always work out, things don't always go in a straight line.
yeah,
You have the mental
yeah,
agility and persistence to keep going and trying different things. That's really important. You've got to hire for attitude, people that are going to kind of roll their sleeves up and get involved. So it all comes down to the team you have around you, making sure that you've got the right type of people and the right culture to
yeah.
facilitate the
That's
success.
amazing. I could not agree more of what you said, especially hiring attitude. I think that's going to stay as a highlight of this podcast. Thank you so much. I wish you all the best with Clearbank, and hopefully we'll have you on another episode
Great.
in some
Thank you.
times. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Go global, not nuts.